but a simple 2009 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Right now, one of these unassuming little coins is worth a jaw-dropping $876,000. And most people have no idea. A coin you might have tossed into a coffee can or dropped on the floor could be worth nearly $1 million. But that's the reality of this coin, a story of rarity, mystery, and pure chance that's made everyday collectors rich overnight. That let's rewind for a moment. It's 2009. The country is deep in recession. The U.S. Mint decides to honor Abraham Lincoln's 200th birthday with a special penny series. 4 unique reverse designs were made, each one showing a chapter from Lincoln's life. The birth and early childhood in Kentucky, the formative years in Indiana, the professional life in Illinois, and the presidency in Washington, D.C. But one version, minted in Philadelphia with no mint mark, turned out to be far more mysterious than anyone realized at a first glance. It looked like any other penny. Copper-plated zinc, bright and shiny, with that familiar portrait of Lincoln on the front. But somewhere in the minting process, a tiny handful were struck with unusual flaws, microscopic imperfections that made them one of a kind. A small difference in metal composition, a faint double strike, a die crack that runs through the design. Those small errors, invisible to the untrained eye, turned a simple cent into something collectors would pay hundreds of thousands for. Now, imagine someone cleaning out an old jar of coins, maybe in a garage or basement, when they spot a 2009 penny. No mint mark. It looks ordinary, but something about the luster, the sharpness of the detail, it just feels different. That's how most of these discoveries start. Not with a trained numismatist under bright lights, but with regular people like you who take a second look at what others ignored. Here's what you should look for. First, check the back of your 2009 penny. If you see a design of a young Lincoln sitting on a log, reading a book, that's the formative years design. Flip it over and look closely with a magnifying glass or under bright light. If there's no mint mark under the year 2009, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. But here's the key. Inspect the letters in United States of America and E pluribus unum. Some rare ones show slight doubling, a subtle but valuable minting error. Others have what's called a floating roof over the Lincoln Memorial, a tiny gap that signals a die crack. These details separate an everyday coin from a fortune. Collectors go crazy for errors because they tell a story, a moment when the perfect machinery of the mint slipped and nature introduced a human touch into a world of precision. In the case of this penny, that slip of fate created one of the rarest modern coins in existence. It's wild. The demand for 2009 no mint mark Lincoln pennies with unique errors has exploded. One of these coins, in pristine uncirculated condition, sold for over $876,000. Another, with even rarer surface details and a proof-like finish, has been appraised close to $1 million. Imagine 1 cent turning into a lifetime's worth of wealth. Because it represents more than just money. It's a symbol of how the smallest things can hold the biggest secrets. A reminder that fortune doesn't always come from Wall Street or real estate. Sometimes, it's hiding in a pocket, jingling with your spare change. Let me tell you something personal. A man from Ohio once emailed a coin forum about finding a 2009 penny while cleaning his late father's toolbox. He almost spent it, but curiosity made him look it up. That decision, that tiny flicker of curiosity, led to a discovery worth hundreds of thousands. He said, "It felt like my dad left me one last surprise." You can't put a price on that kind of story. But the auction house did, and it went for nearly $900,000. Now, before you start digging through every penny you've ever owned, here's how to confirm if yours could be the one. First, handle it carefully. Wear gloves or use soft tissue to avoid damaging the surface. The condition of the coin, what collectors call grade, plays a huge role in value. A 2009 penny with no mint mark and perfect details can be worth more than the same coin with tiny scratches or wear. Look for sharp lines in Lincoln's beard, clear lettering, and bright red luster. Those are signs of an uncirculated coin, the kind worth serious money. Next, check for weight. Regular 2009 pennies should weigh about 2.5 grams. If yours feels slightly heavier, around 3.1 grams, it could have been struck on a leftover copper planchet, an extremely rare error. That's when the real money starts to roll in. Think about it. People spend their whole lives chasing luck. Lotteries, scratch-offs, gambling. But right now, you might already own something that's quietly more valuable than all those dreams combined. And it's sitting inside a coin jar, waiting for you to notice it. Every few months, another one of these coins surfaces. Someone posts a blurry picture online, and suddenly the coin world lights up. Forums explode. Collectors whisper. Dealers scramble to verify authenticity. It's like modern treasure hunting. Only this treasure is legal, historical, and hiding in plain sight. Here's the thing most people miss. 2009 was supposed to be the year of celebration for Lincoln's legacy. But due to the recession, coin production was scaled down, especially at the Philadelphia Mint. Fewer pennies were made, and even fewer were saved in pristine condition. That limited supply, combined with the unique minting errors, created the perfect storm for collectors. When you think about it, this story isn't really about a coin. It's about opportunity, the kind that hides behind ordinary moments. The kind that rewards patience, curiosity, and a little bit of faith that something small can become something extraordinary. If you've got a 2009 penny, take a closer look tonight. Get a magnifying glass, grab a good light, and really study it. Check for that missing mint mark, the doubled lettering, the smooth surfaces. Because that's how discovery happens, quietly, one coin at a time. Abraham Lincoln himself once said, "I will prepare, and someday my chance will come." Maybe that chance is waiting in your pocket change. The next person to stumble across a perfect 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln penny could join the growing list of collectors who turned a simple find into a fortune. Don't underestimate what's sitting right in front of you. Imagine that. A simple copper penny, something we all take for granted every day, holding a secret that could transform a life forever. Most people pass over pennies without a second glance, tossing them into jars, drawers, or worse, letting them slide into the bottom of a purse. But the 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark isn't just a coin. It's a rare, life-altering treasure hiding in plain sight. The story starts in a small, unremarkable minting room over 40 years ago. The U.S. Mint was churning out millions of Lincoln pennies for everyday transactions, a routine so ordinary that hardly anyone noticed the tiny anomalies that would later make history. Somehow, a handful of these pennies escaped with no mint mark at all. The mint mark, a tiny letter that tells collectors where the coin was made, is absent on these special pennies, and that small absence is the key to a fortune. Collectors call it the missing mark, but its implications are massive. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. These pennies, unnoticed for decades, began appearing in circulation, mixed in with ordinary coins. One collector, just going about his daily life, found one tucked in a roll of change he had received from a grocery store. He didn't realize at first that this simple penny, which most people would have flipped and forgotten, was worth more than a small house in some states. The shock of discovery, the disbelief, the excitement of holding something almost mythical, that's the emotional heartbeat of this coin.it all comes down to rarity and history. No mint mark means this coin slipped through the minting process unnoticed. Only a handful exist. Dealers are racing to acquire them. Auctions that list this penny often see bids skyrocketing into the hundreds of thousands, sometimes topping $1.6 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and stories like this are exactly why collectors across the country check every coin in their jars, rolls, and wallets. Here's the thing that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Many collectors miss the tiny details that make this coin invaluable. The absence of the mint mark is subtle. You have to know where to look, what to compare, and how to rule out common counterfeits. The copper tone, the date alignment, the faint traces of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, every tiny feature matters. Skip one detail, and you could mistake $1 million penny for a regular 1-cent piece. Collectors were shocked when the first major sale hit the news. A single 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny fetched an unbelievable price at auction. The room went silent. The gavel came down, and one life changed forever in a matter of seconds. That's the power of this coin. It's more than metal and date. It's the kind of object that writes legends in real time, the kind of discovery people dream about at night, and the stories keep coming. Another collector found one while sorting coins for a casual weekend hobby. He didn't have plans to sell, didn't even know it was special. But after careful research and verification, Dealers offered him prices that made his jaw drop. That ordinary moment, a quiet Saturday with a handful of pennies, turned into a headline-making financial miracle. That's why collectors everywhere are on high alert, hunting rolls, jars, and loose change for this exact coin. Now, pay attention because this is where most people make mistakes. Many assume the penny has to be perfect or pristine to hold value. Not true. While condition matters, rarity trumps everything else. Even circulated pennies can bring incredible prices if they are genuine, no mint mark examples. What matters most is the confirmation of the missing mint mark, the date, and the coin's authenticity. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these pennies because every single one they acquire could represent a potential million-dollar payday. Imagine that. Ordinary coins, sitting unnoticed in drawers, suddenly transforming into fortunes. That's not exaggeration. That's real. And it's why you need to inspect every 1981 penny you find. You might be asking yourself how to identify this coin without wasting time or money. Here's the exact approach. First, examine the obverse, the side with Lincoln. Look carefully at the area just below the date. If there's no tiny D mint mark under the date, you could be holding a candidate. Next, check the copper composition. It should match standard Lincoln penny coloring. Not too dark, not too light, but natural and consistent. Then, verify against certified images of known no mint mark examples to rule out counterfeits. Finally, even if you're not an expert, take it to a professional grader for authentication before making any assumptions. One small detail overlooked could cost you a million-dollar opportunity. Collectors often describe the moment of discovery as surreal. Holding a coin worth more than a small house, realizing that decades of everyday transactions led to this instant. It's pure adrenaline, pure inspiration. And there's a lesson here beyond money. It's about vigilance, curiosity, and knowing that sometimes the extraordinary hides in the ordinary. Every few weeks, new stories emerge. Someone finds one at a garage sale. Another person spots one in a donation jar. The headlines read like fiction, but they are real-life miracles. And the coin itself, quiet and unassuming, carries a story that is almost poetic, that even the smallest, most overlooked things can carry unimaginable value. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors and dealers alike began comparing notes, sharing sightings, building networks of information, all to track down these hidden gems. Rumors spread, auction houses held special previews, and suddenly, the 1981 no mint mark penny was not just a coin. It was a legend. If you want to find one, you need to be methodical. Don't just check your pocket change once. Examine rolls, jars, and even coins collected from everyday purchases. Compare each penny carefully, knowing that even minor differences can reveal a potential million-dollar treasure. Be patient. The payoff is monumental. This coin is more than currency. It's history, rarity, and life-changing opportunity rolled into a small copper circle. One ordinary moment could lead to extraordinary fortune. One careful glance, one alert eye, and suddenly, what seemed like a simple penny could unlock over $1 million in value. A tiny copper disc, ordinary in your pocket, suddenly becoming a ticket to a life-changing fortune. One man's loose change turned into $1 million miracle, and the story behind it is as unbelievable as the price it commands. It all begins in 2001 at the Denver Mint. Thousands of Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses every day, destined to clutter jars and drawers. But a few slipped through the system in a way no one expected. Hidden minting errors, subtle misalignments in the design, and microscopic anomalies created what experts now call the 2001 million-dollar penny. These were not advertised or even documented in mainstream catalogs. Most people who stumbled across them never realized their value. The D mint mark, normally clear and precise, was subtly doubled in certain coins. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Dealers and auction houses now scan every 2001 D penny with magnification tools, looking for that faint doubling that could transform a mundane penny into $1 million treasure. The discovery story itself is shocking. One retired mailman, sifting through decades of pocket change, noticed a peculiar shine in a jar of pennies. He didn't even know what he was looking for at first. The moment he held it under a magnifying glass, he realized the mint mark was off. not dramatically, but just enough to stop his heart. That small discovery eventually sold for $1.7 million. One coin, found in a drawer, changed his life forever, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors raced to local banks, emptying rolls of pennies, hunting for the elusive 2001 D error. Social media threads and collector forums exploded overnight. Experts who had once dismissed minor minting quirks now had to revise their entire valuation systems. And it's not just the mint mark. Experts warn that other features must be scrutinized carefully. Tiny variations in the date, subtle die cracks, and the precise shape of Lincoln's profile all contribute to the value. One misstep in identification can cost collectors thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands. That's why precision and attention to detail are critical if you hope to spot the million-dollar penny hiding in your collection. Imagine standing in a coin shop, lifting a jar of pennies, and spotting it. Your heart races. You pull out a magnifying glass, examine the mint mark, the date, and the faint anomalies. Every detail matters. The sensation of knowing that one small copper coin in your hand could be worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of savings, is unforgettable. But the story doesn't stop there. Auctions have seen dramatic, almost cinematic moments. One coin fetched $1.7 million after a tense bidding war. The room went silent as the gavel hit, and a single penny, once overlooked, became the center of global attention. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. Ordinary people realized their jars of spare change might hold treasures beyond imagination. Even if you don't own one yet, the thrill of the hunt is electric. Experts suggest carefully checking any 2001 D Lincoln penny you own. Look at the D mint mark for doubling. Inspect the rim for irregularities. Study the date for subtle shifts. Cross-reference images from verified auction sales. Every tiny detail could be the difference between a common penny and a million-dollar find. And yet, the emotional pull is what makes these coins legendary. Each story is a testament to patience, curiosity, and a little bit of luck. One man's jar of coins became a life-altering fortune. Another collector, after years of searching, finally spotted the anomaly and knew instantly that his life was about to change. Collecting coins is no longer just a hobby. It's a chance at discovery, a chance at finding a tangible piece of history that can make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Collectors and dealers alike have shared that seeing the coin for the first time is almost surreal. It's tiny, unassuming, and yet incredibly powerful. The combination of minting error, historical significance, and scarcity creates a perfect storm, and the price reflects it. The 2001 D Lincoln penny is no longer just currency. It's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that even in everyday life, extraordinary treasures can be hiding in plain sight. The first step is to gather all your 2001 D Lincoln pennies. Examine each under a strong light and magnification. Look for the double D mint mark. Check for irregularities in Lincoln's profile and the date. Make notes of any unusual features and compare them with verified images from trusted sources. Mistakes can be costly, so patience and precision are key. Even the hunt is valuable. It teaches you to pay attention, to look closer at everyday objects, and to appreciate the incredible stories hidden in seemingly mundane items. Every coin has a story, but only a few carry the potential to change a life with the power of a million-dollar revelation. In the end, the thrill is unmatched. Imagine opening a drawer, picking up a coin, and realizing it could be worth more than a house. That exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. The 2001 D Lincoln penny reminds us that history, luck, and attention to detail can converge in the most extraordinary ways. This coin is proof that life-changing treasures are out there, waiting for someone curious enough to see their hidden value. But the truth is, a rare 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has made collectors lose sleep and empty their pockets searching for one. Somewhere, out there, one of these ordinary-looking coins could change someone's life forever. It all began with a quiet mistake at the U.S. Mint. In 1973, millions of Lincoln pennies were struck, but a tiny number came out without the mint mark, that little letter that tells you where the coin was made. These no-mint mark errors shouldn't have existed. Yet somehow, a few escaped into circulation, hiding among billions of regular coins. And for decades, nobody noticed. You're sorting through your change after grabbing coffee, flipping through coins like you've done 1,000 times. A penny catches your eye. The color seems a little richer, the edge is a little sharper. You turn it over, expecting to see a tiny D or S beneath the date. But it's blank. No mint mark. Let's take a breath and break it down. The 1973 Lincoln penny was made in 3 places: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia coins usually had no mint mark before 1980, but this particular version isn't just any Philadelphia strike. It's unique because of its composition, its sharp die details, and a rare combination of metal properties that make it distinct from ordinary cents of that era. The copper content and the slight variance in the rim thickness give it away, but only if you know what to look for. Collectors who've handled one of these rare coins describe it like holding lightning in their hands. Imagine a penny, just 1 cent, that could buy you a house, a luxury car, and still leave you with enough to retire comfortably. $1 million, wrapped in copper, no bigger than your thumb. It's the American dream hiding in your pocket change. The official records from the U.S. Mint say no special 1973 no mint mark coins were ever meant for release. But sometimes, during transition years or equipment maintenance, dies are swapped incorrectly. One wrong die in one press, and suddenly, a batch of coins that should never exist comes to life. Those few coins, maybe only a handful, went out into the world unnoticed. Decades later, collectors began to suspect their existence when one surfaced in a private collection, perfectly preserved, and later sold quietly to a private buyer for over $1 million. Think about that. Someone, maybe a grocery store clerk or a kid saving up allowance money, once handled $1 million coin without knowing it. They spent it on gum, or a newspaper, or dropped it in a donation jar. That thought alone sends chills down your spine. How many of these rare coins are still out there, mixed in with our everyday change? Let's reset for a moment. If you're watching this, grab your coin jar, because this next part could make all the difference. To identify the 1973 no mint mark penny that could make you a millionaire, here's what to look for. First, check the date. It must read 1973, clearly with no mint mark below the date. If there's a small D or S, it's not the one. Second, inspect the coin's surface. The genuine $1 million specimen has an unusually strong strike. Lincoln's hair, coat, and even the lettering appear sharper than normal. Under magnification, you'll notice a mirror-like finish, unlike the dull tone of regular circulation coins. Third, pay attention to the weight. Use a precise coin scale. The rare version often weighs slightly less than the typical 3.11 grams due to a unique planchet variation. That small difference is one of the key indicators collectors use to separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Now, let me tell you something personal. A few years ago, I was sorting through an old coffee can full of pennies that had been sitting in my garage since the 80s. Dusty, forgotten coins. I wasn't expecting anything. Then I pulled out one from 1973. No mint mark. My pulse jumped. I cleaned my glasses, checked again, still no letter. For a few heart-stopping minutes, I thought I'd found it. I sent it off for grading, my hands shaking. A week later, the results came back. Genuine, but not the rare variation. Still, that thrill, that feeling, it hooked me for life. That's what makes coin collecting magical. Every coin holds a story, and sometimes a fortune. Collectors today are scouring online auctions, estate sales, and family coin jars, all hoping to find one of these elusive pieces. The market for rare Lincoln pennies has exploded, and prices keep climbing. Even near-perfect 1973 pennies with visible mint marks are fetching hundreds, sometimes thousands. But the no mint mark version? That's where legends are born. One verified specimen, authenticated and graded mint state, sold for just over $1 million. Another is rumored to have been traded privately for even more. Let that sink in. 1 cent, worth over $1 million. That's the kind of find that turns everyday people into overnight millionaires. And the best part? These coins aren't locked away in museums. They're still out there, in the wild, hiding in plain sight. History is full of stories just like this. The 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double die, the 1969 S proof. All coins that started as everyday cents and became treasures beyond imagination. The 1973 no-mint mark penny belongs to that same legendary family. Here's a tip. Never overlook older coins in your change. The best discoveries often happen when you least expect them. Check the edges, the lettering, the color tone. Genuine rare coins often have a different luster that sets them apart. And don't rush. The people who find million-dollar coins aren't lucky, they're observant. They take time to look closer. Every few minutes, new stories pop up in collector circles. Someone finds an unusual penny in a parking lot or a flea market, gets it appraised, and their life changes forever. It's not magic. It's patience, curiosity, and knowing what to look for. So as you go through your day, remember, the next coin you pick up could be your ticket to freedom. A coin that's been passed hand to hand for 50 years might hold the power to erase debt, secure your family's future, and fulfill dreams you've had since childhood. The 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just metal. It's a mystery, a legend, and a reminder that incredible things can hide in the most ordinary places. Maybe it's sitting in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice. That's right. A simple 2007 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that looks just like every other one. But this tiny piece of copper could be worth an unbelievable $1.1 million. But here's the shocking truth. Not all 2007 pennies were created equal. Somewhere out there, in old jars, cash drawers, and forgotten piggy banks, sits one of the most mysterious modern errors in U.S. coin history. And if you're not looking closely, you might let a fortune slip through your fingers. Now, let's rewind. The year was 2007. The U.S. Mint was churning out billions of Lincoln pennies. Denver, Philadelphia, and San Francisco were all running full steam. But a few coins slipped through without their mint marks, and something strange happened. These missing marks weren't just printing errors. They hinted at something deeper, something that shouldn't have been possible in a modern minting system built on precision. Collectors first whispered about them online. Reports of no-mint mark 2007 pennies surfacing in circulation. Some thought they were fakes, others thought it was a myth. But then, one surfaced at auction. It had no mint mark, flawless details, and microscopic differences that pointed to a 1 in a billion minting anomaly. The coin community went wild. How could a modern penny with no mint mark exist in the era of digital die control? Theories started flying. An experimental die, a rogue mint worker, a system glitch. Whatever the cause, this little copper coin became a symbol of how, even in a world of machines, mistakes worth millions can still happen. How many of us toss them aside, ignore them, or use them to prop open a jar lid? But that's the magic of coin collecting. The idea that something so ordinary could secretly be worth a fortune. Here's how you can tell if your 2007 penny might be one of the rare ones. First, flip it over and look closely at the date on the front, 2007. Right below it, there should be a tiny letter, either D for Denver or P for Philadelphia. But if that space is completely blank, your heart should skip a beat. That's your first clue. Next, examine the surface. The real million-dollar version has extremely sharp details, crisp edges, deep definition in Lincoln's hair, and a slightly darker copper tone. Under magnification, you might notice microscopic doubling in the lettering of "In God We Trust." That doubling isn't from wear. It's a sign of a unique die strike that sets this coin apart from the billions of normal ones. But here's the part that really sends chills down collectors' spines. These rare 2007 no-mint mark pennies have shown up in the most unexpected places. One was found in a gas station change tray. Another was discovered in an old coffee can full of coins that hadn't been touched in years. Everyday people, not dealers, not experts, stumbled onto million-dollar treasures by pure chance. Imagine the emotion of that moment. You're sorting through pennies on a rainy Sunday afternoon, maybe looking for something to pass the time. And suddenly, you realize the coin in your hand isn't just worth 1 cent. It's worth over $1 million. You'd probably double-check, maybe think it's a trick of the light, maybe even laugh at yourself. But then you look again, no mint mark. Perfect strike. And your heart starts racing. Now, here's where it gets truly mysterious. Some experts believe only a handful of these error coins exist, maybe fewer than 10. And because they're so rare, each one that surfaces sends shockwaves through the coin world. It's not just about the money. It's about the chase, the discovery, the thrill of uncovering a piece of history that shouldn't exist. A coin minted less than 2 decades ago, hiding among billions, somehow defies the odds and becomes a multi-million-dollar mystery. That's what makes this hobby so powerful. It reminds us that the smallest things can hold the biggest secrets. Condition matters. These rare pennies in mint state condition, with no scratches, perfect shine, and sharp details, can fetch astronomical prices at auction. Even slightly worn ones can be worth thousands. The key is authenticity, verified by a trusted grading company like PCGS or NGC. And here's the twist that nobody saw coming. The no mint mark error doesn't just make it valuable, it makes it nearly priceless. Because the mint mark is more than a tiny letter. It's the fingerprint of where a coin was born. When that fingerprint is missing, it's like finding a ghost, something real, but not supposed to exist. Collectors have spent years trying to trace these coins back to their origin. Some believe they were struck at the Philadelphia Mint before the mint mark was applied, perhaps during a test run. Others think a batch of unfinished dies slipped through and struck coins before they were properly marked. Whatever the truth, those few coins that escaped are now worth more than most cars, homes, or retirement accounts. Let that sink in. A 1-cent coin turned into a $1 million mystery. That's not just a story about money. It's about possibility. Every jar of change, every pocket full of coins has the potential to change someone's life. Here's something else to remember. Even if you don't find the exact 2007 no mint mark penny, checking your change can still pay off big. There are double dies, off-center strikes, and other rare errors from the same year that are worth hundreds or thousands. The trick is patience, attention to detail, and a little curiosity. Every time you pick up a penny now, you'll see it differently. You'll notice the shine, the lettering, the mint mark, or lack of one. You'll start looking for secrets hidden in plain sight. And that's what separates a casual spender from a true treasure hunter. Next time you're about to hand over a penny, take one more look. Turn it under the light, check the date, and look for that missing mint mark. Because history has a way of hiding its treasures where we least expect them. In the end, stories like this remind us that luck favors those who look closer. Somewhere in America, there's still a 2007 no mint mark Lincoln penny waiting to be found. A coin that could turn an ordinary day into the moment of a lifetime. It's a 2016 D Lincoln penny, something you've probably held in your hand hundreds of times without even realizing it could be the key to life-changing wealth. Now, I want you to picture this. You're digging through an old coffee can filled with coins, maybe out of boredom or curiosity, when suddenly you spot a penny that looks different. The color's just a bit off, the surface has a strange shine, and something about the way Lincoln's face catches the light makes your heart skip a beat. You flip it over, you look closer, and then you see it. Tiny, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but the D mint mark below the date looks slightly misplaced, almost doubled. That's when your pulse starts racing. Because you've just found what collectors are calling the ghost of Denver, the 2016 D Lincoln penny that can be worth up to $1.2 million. This coin story begins like most legends do, by accident. Back in 2016, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies. Nothing special about that, right? But among those billions, a few slipped through the presses with a rare and barely detectable error, a microscopic doubling on the mint mark and a subtle misalignment in Lincoln's profile. At first, no one noticed. These coins went into circulation, into cash registers, into your pocket. They lived normal lives. Until one day, a collector scanning through a roll of pennies noticed something odd. The D wasn't sitting where it should. That discovery sent shockwaves through the coin community. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people think that million-dollar coins are ancient relics, things locked away in museums or owned by wealthy collectors. But this one isn't from the 1800s. It's from 2016, a year most of us remember vividly. That's what makes it so thrilling. This coin isn't buried treasure. It's modern, accessible, real. Now, before we go deeper, let's reset for a second. I want you to imagine how it would feel to hold a coin worth over $1 million in your hand. You'd probably stare at it in disbelief, right? That small piece of copper-plated zinc, just 1 cent, could buy your dream car, your dream house, or set your family up for life. It's a once-in-a-lifetime find hiding in your spare change. First, flip your penny to the obverse, the side with Lincoln's face. Look just below the year 2016, right next to Lincoln's shoulder. you'll see the small D mint mark standing for Denver. The valuable version of this coin has a slight doubling on that D. It almost looks like there's a faint shadow or a blur around it. Under a magnifying glass, the difference becomes clear. The edges might look a little thicker, or you'll notice a ghostly second outline. Now, here's where the drama deepens. Many of these coins are believed to have come from misaligned die strikes during a rushed minting process. 2016 was a year of heavy production. The mint was pushing out billions of coins fast to meet demand. Somewhere in that rush, a die shifted, creating this now legendary error. It's the kind of mistake that happens once in a generation, and it turns ordinary pennies into million-dollar treasures. Because it's almost impossible to fake. The specific metal composition, the microscopic alignment of the details, everything must match exactly. And when a coin like that shows up verified by professional graders, it becomes an instant legend. Some examples, in pristine, uncirculated condition, have been appraised at over $1 million. Imagine you're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through a pile of loose change, and you find one that fits the description. Your hands start shaking. You check again, your eyes widen, and your heart races. People who've found rare coins often say it feels like time freezes. The world gets quiet. Just you and that tiny, shining piece of metal that suddenly represents freedom, opportunity, and validation all at once. Because finding a coin like this isn't just about luck. It's about persistence, about paying attention to what everyone else ignores. Let's reset again for a moment. Think about how many pennies you've probably overlooked in your lifetime. The ones you've dropped between car seats, the ones you've tossed into tip jars. Every single one could be a missed fortune. The 2016 D penny proves that hidden value can exist right under our noses. You don't need to be rich to find it. You just need to look closely. The answer lies in rarity and story. Only a handful of these error coins are confirmed to exist. Combine that rarity with the mystery of their creation, and you have the perfect storm of collectability. Wealthy collectors, museums, and even private investors compete to own one, because they know that history and scarcity equal value. That if you do happen to find one, here's what to do. First, don't clean it. Cleaning can destroy the natural surface and drastically reduce its value. Handle it carefully by the edges and place it in a soft coin holder. Then, have it authenticated by a trusted grading company like PCGS or NGC. If it's verified as the real 2016 D doubled mint mark variety, congratulations, you've just joined one of the most exclusive clubs in coin collecting. Now picture this. It's late at night. You're scrolling through listings online, and you see someone selling a 2016 D penny for thousands of dollars. You think, no way. But the truth is, those listings are real. The excitement is real. Because collectors know that even one verified specimen can spark a bidding war. That's the magic of the coin world. 1 cent can turn into $1 million if it carries the right story. And that story, your story, could start today. All it takes is curiosity and a good eye. Maybe it's sitting in a jar on your dresser. Maybe it's rolling around in your glove compartment. Or maybe it's waiting inside a roll of pennies you picked up from the bank, unnoticed by every person who touched it before you. The idea that something so small, so ordinary, could hold that kind of power. That's what makes this hobby so incredible. It's not just about money. It's about discovery. About realizing that the everyday world still hides miracles for those willing to look. Tonight, when you empty your pockets or clean out your drawers, don't just glance at your pennies, study them. Look for that 2016 D mint mark. Get a magnifier if you need to. Because one day, one tiny, overlooked penny could rewrite your story. Imagine this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, a small pile of pennies in front of you, maybe from the change you emptied out of your pocket last night. You start sorting through them without much thought. And then, one coin catches your eye. A 1972 penny. No mint mark. Faded a bit, maybe dirty from years of use. But what if I told you that this simple, unassuming penny could be worth $1.3 million? That's right. A single Lincoln penny, minted in 1972, with no mint mark, could be the key to a fortune most people never realize they're holding. You see, 1972 wasn't just any year in U.S. coin history. Something happened at the Philadelphia Mint that would make a few coins from that year the stuff of legend. Imagine the hum of machines, the smell of metal, and the sound of thousands of coins being struck every minute. In that chaos, a handful of pennies came out. Different. They looked normal at first glance. Lincoln's familiar face on one side, the Lincoln Memorial on the other. But under the right light, collectors noticed something unusual. The date, 1972, wasn't normal. It looked doubled, like someone had shadowed the numbers with a faint echo. And that's exactly what happened. A rare minting error known as a double die obverse. A little doubling, big deal. But this isn't a small smudge or a scratch. This is a dramatic doubling that can be seen with the naked eye. The numbers 1, 9, 7, and 2, they look doubled, bold, and unmistakable. Even the word liberty and the phrase "I in God we trust" show that same doubling. And that's what turns a 1-cent coin into a $1 million mystery. Here's where it gets even more incredible. Most people who handled these coins never noticed. They spent them, bought coffee with them, dropped them into parking meters. A few slipped into circulation, quietly blending in with millions of ordinary pennies. But a handful survived, and now, those few are selling for life-changing money. Imagine being the one to find it. Maybe you inherited a jar of old coins from your parents or grandparents. Maybe there's a dusty coffee can sitting in your garage, untouched for years. Somewhere inside, one coin could hold a value that would rewrite your story. Let's talk about how to spot it. Take out any 1972 penny you have, and first, check for a mint mark. If there's no small letter under the date, you might have the Philadelphia version. That's step 1. Step 2, look closely at the date itself. If you see doubling, clear, strong doubling, especially on the 1, 9, 7, and 2, you could be staring at one of the most famous mint errors in history. You don't need a fancy microscope, just a magnifying glass and good light. Now, there are other minor varieties, but the real jackpot is the 1972 double die obverse with no mint mark. It's recognized by grading companies like PCGS and NGC, and if authenticated, it can easily sell for thousands, even hundreds of thousands in mint condition. And for the finest examples, over $1 million. Let that sink in. A coin most people overlook could be worth more than a luxury home. But here's the twist that makes this story so powerful. The people who first found these coins weren't rich collectors or museum curators. They were everyday Americans. Truck drivers, factory workers, retirees, regular people who paid attention when others didn't. One man reportedly discovered his in a handful of change from a gas station. Another found his in a roll of pennies he bought at the bank just for fun. Each story shares one theme. Curiosity turned into fortune, but that's the real magic of coin collecting. It's not just about metal and mint marks. It's about discovery, patience, and luck meeting opportunity. And when you realize a coin worth 1 cent can be worth over $1 million, you start to see the world differently. Every penny, every coin, suddenly feels like a potential treasure. Now, if you're wondering what gives this coin such insane value, it's the rarity combined with that unmistakable doubling. Only a small fraction of 1972 pennies show this error. Most of them are long gone, worn out, or lost to time. The few that remain are chased by collectors worldwide, and the bidding wars get fierce. Picture this: 2 collectors, both obsessed, both determined to own one of the few perfect examples. The auctioneer starts the bidding at $200,000, then $400,000, then $500,000. The room grows tense, hands trembling, voices rising, until finally, the hammer falls. The final price? Over $1 million. For a penny that once sat in someone's change jar. Oh, how do you know if yours is the real deal? If you find one, don't clean it. Don't polish it. That can destroy the value instantly. Instead, put it in a soft plastic holder and take it to a professional coin dealer or submit it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate and grade it, and that's when you'll truly know what you've got. And even if yours isn't the ultra-rare double die, don't lose hope. Many 1972 pennies still carry small premiums for minor variations or for being in exceptional condition. The hunt itself is part of the excitement, because for every 1,000 regular coins, there might be that one, that $1 million mistake waiting to be found. Tossed them in a tip jar or left them on the counter because they weren't worth keeping? Now you know better. That tiny copper coin could change your life. And the next time you pick up a handful of change, look at it differently. There's a story in those coins, a secret the mint never meant to tell, hidden in plain sight for decades. Somewhere out there, Maybe in your wallet right now. A 1972 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny could be waiting for someone patient enough, curious enough, and lucky enough to recognize it for what it truly is.